Hi guys, this is Luetin and we're starting today another roundtable discussion, and I'm joined this evening by Matimio, and I'm also joined by John, the engineer from Battlefield Friends, and also Brent, the noob from Battlefield Friends. And my good friend Snoov will be joining us when he's finished eating his pizza. So, so today we've got a various range of topics that we're going to be discussing, and I think I'm going to go to Brent and John first. I think they're having a kind of a joint, I would say, joint topic today. So, guys, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I guess the big news of the day was the gunship getting nerfed.
Well, I like to stay true to my character, so I have no idea what's going on. What changes did they make to the gunship?
Okay, basically what they've done is they've added in a load of time changes, which I don't have immediately in front of me. But what they've basically done is they've made it take longer to spawn between bases. So when a rush base opens up, it takes more time for it to respawn. It also has a longer spawn between being destroyed and respawning again. And also, you know, that change where it takes longer to respawn moving on to the next base means that hopefully you wouldn't have the same issue with power droppers, where basically, you know, the new base would open right up and then people suddenly are power dropping in before it's barely even opened. So they've also made some changes to the guns, I should say, as well. I think they added 30%. Yeah, they've weakened anti-aircraft guns, 30% weakness on that, and they added 50% weakness to the guns on an aircraft. So that's quite a significant change.
Saying that well, we don't play a lot of Rush, so I'd never really felt the impact from that. Like, you know, I'll definitely see Matimio and Level Cap when they play. You know, it looks crazy on a 64-man server, and I know Level posted a video where he was just dominating with that thing, and it's insanity. He got like 30 kills in something like 2 minutes. It's just something insane like that. I can see the frustration there for sure.
Yeah, I think as well. I think we haven't seen fully. You know, this is the thing why I never like things to get changed too quickly, because I often feel like it takes a little bit of time for people to get used to it. And whilst the patch has been out, whilst the DLC, I should say, has been out for a little bit of time, you know, for me it feels like it's been out forever. But that's because I'm premium and I've got PS3, so it came out for me ages ago. But, you know, other people who don't have that are only just getting it, really. And I guess, you know, it takes some people a little bit of time to get used to things. Like, people weren't sure immediately how the flares worked, people weren't sure how to adjust to it properly, and, you know, people weren't sure how to work it into their team play, etc. So I always feel like, you know, maybe it's not so good to make a change straight away. But having said that, I think that the changes they have made are quite balanced, and out of all the things they could have done, I think this is probably, you know, the best that they could do. Let me ask you, Matimio, what do you think about it?
I think the changes are good. I was actually impressed that they kind of buffed it with the jets, because the jets with one run could just destroy it.
Yeah.
Which I was always surprised by, because the guns, the anti-air guns, can't shoot it if it's at a right angle, and you can't shoot it with the main cannon as well. So I do like the changes, but I still wouldn't. I still kind of just feel like it should get removed from Rush. When I thought of the AC-130, I thought it was only going to be in Conquest, and then when I saw it was in Rush, I was kind of surprised, and I just don't think it suits the game type, to be honest. I just think it's a little bit too powerful.
Let me ask you as well, right, because I'm sure various people will want to compare and know. Now, for myself, playing Rush on a console, we obviously only have 12 players defending. Now, when you're playing on the PC, how do you feel the AC compares, you know, between those two differences? Because obviously you're going to be playing on servers that have more people. Does it have more of an impact because it has more targets, or do you find it goes down faster because more people are there to shoot it down?
I'd say it's kind of a toss-up depending on what your teammates are doing. If the enemy is on top of things, they're going to take you out like almost instantaneously. The AC-130, some matches isn't even a problem.
Yeah.
But that being said, there are some matches where I'll get into it and then I will just rain death down upon everyone. And like what you saw with the Level Cap's video, where he gets 30 kills in 2 minutes, that happens as well. And it completely swings the fight into your favor. And when it gets to that point, they're spawning in the same location, and you're just pummeling them in their spawn, and there's really nothing they can do about it at that point.
Yeah, I think a lot of people suffered that. But you see, I swear it comes back to what I've said before, which is that if you don't deal with something, it's going to punish you for it, whether that be a tank on the ground or a load of guys running around the back of a base. If you don't deal with an issue, it's going to be there. Snoov, let me ask you, how have you found the AC-130? Do you think it's a good change, bad change? Would you have made it more severe? What do you think?
I'm actually really happy with the latest round of changes they were going through. When it first dropped for PS3 Premium members, I liked it at first, and then when I got a good feel for what was going on, I was like, you know what, it's not necessarily that the AC-130 is overpowered, it just creates too much of an imbalance to give the attacking team the AC-130 and an attack chopper and all these ground vehicles. It was just way, way, way too much for an attacking side. And I was thinking, like, what could be a really good way to help balance this out to make it so it's a little even between the attackers and defenders. And the idea I came up with was give it a 2-minute respawn timer.
Yeah, I think they've actually updated it to that now. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yep, and I was really happy to see that. I saw that was the biggest problem. Like, you take the thing down, on console it takes a couple of people, and that's an issue because you can have one guy in the AC-130 doing pretty good damage, and it takes 2 to 3 of the defenders to take it down. So it creates a pretty good imbalance there just for numbers of players working the objectives. And I was like, that's the biggest problem, is that you put in all this effort to take it down, and it's back in 60 seconds. It's like in the blink of an eye, all of a sudden it's raining hell down. So I initially really wanted to see 2 minutes. I thought that would be a good balance, because you think about a standard rush game, specifically for console, because I don't really have that much experience on PC. It takes like 5 minutes, give or take a minute here, to take down a set of MCOMs. So with that 2-minute respawn timer, it should help level things out, that you should be able to bleed a lot of tickets while people are waiting for that AC-130 before it creates that imbalance again.
Yeah. I mean, one of the changes that I had discussed about before, which is coming on my video tomorrow, I think, as well, but I actually mentioned that, before they put this in place, one of my thoughts was that what if the attackers only got the AC-130 for the first 2 bases? Obviously on Conquest it's slightly different because it's kind of an ongoing thing, and also everyone has the opportunity to take it, so it balances up. I don't think Conquest is ever the issue, it really is with Rush. But yeah, my kind of idea was that it was kind of like a first strike weapon, because sometimes that first base can be pretty hard on any map for people to kind of get into the swing of things, because you're starting from the very beginning. You have to make that first assault, and I kind of like the idea that maybe it would only be used for the first 2 bases, then it would drop off and they wouldn't be able to use it. I don't know, John, Brent, do you guys think that would be a good change to make, to have something like that? It's only like a first strike weapon.
As far as Rush,
yeah,
I haven't played any Rush.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, it's like, we play so little Rush, really. We're kind of,
you're capping the bases. This is going to be an opportunity for you for Battlefield Friends. Let's bleed this in. Let's bleed this in. So, okay, with the Battlefield Friends series, let's talk a little bit about that here. So you guys have focused mainly on Conquest for your objectives there within the series. Do you think you would be interested in opening it up to Rush? I mean, there's a whole range of things that could be focused on within that.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And we've played Rush before. It's just, I just feel like the whole team, like the whole group of us, just have a better time when we're on Conquest, because Conquest is a little bit more open-ended. It's a little bit more free, and Rush is, Rush, you always have that objective of like, you have to do this.
You have to be organized to play Rush.
Yeah, we're not organized.
We can tell our team, look, we're going to stick together and we're going to attack this base, and within 30 seconds. Tony's in a plane flying around, and it just never works out.
Yeah, it doesn't ever.
Do you think, okay, let me ask you as well, which do you prefer? Would you prefer Conquest Assault or Conquest?
I like them both, because I do like Conquest Assault, where it sucks to be on the opposing end when you have, the attacking team captures all your bases, so now you have no chance of respawning. I hate that.
Something that irritates me is that often I think defenders forget that. A lot of the time I'm on those games, people forget that if all your bases get taken, you basically lose, and that you know, your main priority should be always to pick up another base, which is why I'm always telling people, you know, if they've got 2, make sure you're starting to send someone back up the map, because if by some chance they imbalance that last base, you need to be ready to be going up and capping the other base. But yeah, it doesn't always work out that way.
From my experience, we're always surprised when we end up on Conquest Assault. It's like it hit us by surprise, and we just realize we can't spawn all of a sudden. We're like, oh, okay, we're playing.
Yeah. No, it did lead to a funny moment that one night. We were playing Conquest Assault, and all of our bases got taken, but you know, we had all died, and so now we're looking at the map and the spawn screen, and you see a blueberry on the mini map like moving towards an objective, and then it kind of became all of us just rooting for this one guy to get that objective back, and I think he did. So.
Yeah, it looked rough. It looked like he was being snuck up on, and somehow he pulled it off. It was.
I think Conquest Assault often gives some of the most interesting stories as well, and I think some of the fastest victories you could ever have as well. I think we've won an entire round in literally less than a minute sometimes, where we take a vehicle and like literally drop people off as we go through the map. So I'll drop off like one guy at the first base, one guy at the second, and then 2 of us at the last, and we cap all bases, and it's finished before they've even spawned. So it can kind of be
sure I've lost matches within a minute before.
Yeah.
I had a match just today where we were down 400 tickets, capped them out, and won. I was surprised.
Exactly. I think it's because people can spend too long in the menu, which again, like your series, when you guys are like, yeah, you got 50 kills, and he's like, we just got out the menu. It's exactly that situation. People are sitting there picking their guns, going, what could I choose for this round? And they go to enter it, and they can't respawn at all. So I've got to ask you guys, because I know people want to know. Everyone was spamming my video the other day. When do you think you might be seeing the second series of Battlefield Friends in a rough time sphere? When do you think?
I hope no more than 2 or 3 months we'll be back, but you know, there's no guarantee right now. You know, we're working out some stuff. Yeah. And you know, as soon as we get everything worked out, hopefully we can come back and not only do a season 2, but season 3 will happen much sooner than. In a much quicker time than between season 1 and 2.
Yeah, we have to get clearance and be given a time slot before we can begin season 2. So if it takes too much longer than a month or 2, we might have to go rogue and just start doing it.
Yeah.
We're trying to get cleared. I mean, we're ready to do it.
So when you come up to make an episode, and as I said to John, like I actually in my own job, I actually worked for an animation company at one point, and so I know how long it takes to storyboard, put together, edit, and all the rest of it, stick it together. Do you come up with like a full kind of schedule of concepts, or do you work through them episode one by one? And how long do you think you would actually spend, perhaps in hours, on an individual episode, just to give people an idea?
A lot of the times, I feel like it goes week to week. Because a lot of what we experience, or what makes an episode, is just what we experience online from any given day. Yeah. Like, we'll just run across a silly moment. I know, one episode I want to do that we haven't got to yet. I remember being somewhere, and I think it was on Carg Island, and there was a building, and I walked up, and there's 2 legs sticking out the side of the building. There was another player on the other side laying down in there. And I just think that's just very silly.
I think there's numerous, this would be kind of entertaining, to the silliest things you've seen, and I have seen some crazy stuff. You've seen people like hanging from lampposts when they've been blown up into the air, and then they get caught off of it, and they're just literally hanging there as if they've been hung or something. And my favourite as well at the moment is when people get killed, but they're frozen standing up. But they still have a res. They still have a res paddle symbol, and people are trying to res them, like standing up. And there's a guy in the middle of the road just trying to res this guy, and he's like stood there frozen in time. And this guy's like resing him, and then they get sniped. So
I would love to see a video of that. Like I've run into that so many times. You come around a corner and there's a guy dead, but he's still standing like straight up. You're like, is he alive? Is he dead? I'm just gonna shoot just in case. I'd love to see a video of the noob like just trying to shoot people like that the whole time.
Yeah, no, it'd be great. And just going, no, I've got to res this guy. I've got to res him. Guys, he's still standing. He's still standing. We're going to get him. But no.
I mean, that's really how we run an episode, I feel. It's just kind of these situations we run into because, what I think what the appeal of the show is it's relatable. The whole first episode was everybody's jumped into a helicopter and then the guy flying immediately crashes.
Yes, absolutely.
You know,
really
and
was.
it's so frustrating and annoying, but it's something that we all experience.
I said to John as well, I don't think I've laughed at anything more than Mav Squad. Seriously, it was the funniest. It really was the funniest thing. And it did totally remind me, I think everyone's had that thing. It was Metro, and I was in this game, and literally there was just Mavs everywhere. And I got the recording. I was going to make a video of it, and I never did. I was going to get like some, 1950s, sci-fi UFO music, like woo, like all these Mavs flying around. But oh my God, it was ridiculous. Literally everywhere you turned. And, we were playing Rush. We were playing Rush on Metro, but everyone had igloos out and was trying to shoot down these Mavs. It was
That's hilarious.
Oh, it was absolutely insane. Everywhere I turned, there was one like coming at me in my face. I was like, oh my God. Oh no, people are going to tear that comment apart now. I shouldn't have said that. People coming at me in my face. People are going to, whenever I do this, I've had so many videos like this, people tear it apart. Anyway, that's going to be top comment for like the next 2 weeks. Matimio, what's one of the craziest things that's happened to you in game that you've seen to an individual player?
The craziest thing?
Like the most glitchy or bizarre thing that you've seen happen?
Oh, my favorite is when you run over a guy and they get caught in the wheel. And
yes.
as you're zoomed in, when you zoom out, you see him spinning in the wheel along with you.
Yeah,
I think that's probably the best.
That is very, very good. I have seen that before. Okay, Snoov, what's yours?
Oh man, I feel like I'm missing out on a good experience here. I have nothing exceptional to talk about. The only funny things I see is when you get a good tank shot on somebody and you launch them across the map, but
yeah,
that's the extent of funny things I've seen.
That is quite classic. I still am always, I know it's kind of a boring one, but another one for me is I always love getting the forward flips on tanks, buggies and vehicles. That's always really, really satisfying. When you come up to something and you hit it and the tank starts to flip forward and you think, oh crap, I'm going to end up on top. And it keeps going and you flip straight back over. I don't think there's anything more satisfying than that when you're playing. Okay, Snoov, let's go on with your question now, seeing as you came in later on. What's your topic for this evening?
All right, so I wouldn't mind talking about Aftermath, and I really think that's going to be the best DLC yet, because we don't know anything about what Endgame is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's totally open to interpretation at this point, but I think that Aftermath has the potential to be the best DLC we've had yet. From what I can gather from the little screenshots we've seen, it looks like it's going to be back to Karkin style DLC, but just a complete clusterfuck of destruction around everything. So the potential for just some really, really awesome infantry based battles is really, really high.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm looking forward to, because I like vehicles and stuff in Battlefield 3, but to me it's really slow paced, and that's probably just a console thing because we only have 12v12. But I think Aftermath is going to be a good blend of the two, where you really, given the destruction of the maps, you're really going to have to be very tactical with how you handle the vehicles. But given that the extraordinary amount of cover you're going to have, infantry battles should just be insane. They should be really, really fun and really hard fought. And I can see games like Rush, where things are a little bit more condensed, could be just absolutely awesome.
Yeah. I would agree. I think as well, like, we've seen so much with Karkand. I think it's going to be more on par with Karkand, sort of light armored vehicles, but kind of good medium spaced combat all around, and more kind of urban environments. So yeah, I'm kind of intrigued. I think I think me and Level speculated that it could be kind of like on the earthquake zone maps and stuff like that, whatever they have involved. But yeah, I would like to see some of those kind of open street combats and things like that. Would be really good. John and Brent, what do you guys think about current DLC moving forward? What do you think about the Aftermath potential for kind of...
Yeah, I feel like I hope Aftermath, because I think Back to Karkin's probably my favorite so far. It's me personally, it's because I do like that mix of like close quarters and vehicle action. Like, the last DLC to me, sometimes feels way too big, but the close quarters I feel sometimes it's just you spawn and you die. So I mean, to me, the perfect mix is stuff like Back to Karkin, where it is big enough for vehicles, but also can be small enough for some good close quarter stuff.
Yeah. Brent, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. It feels too big sometimes, but I also like that you have more access to mobile AAs, and you have more helicopters in some of them. Sometimes you're fighting for a helicopter and you get more chances to grab, like on Armored Shield or whatever, you have, I think both sides have 2 helicopters, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think people generally I think people generally prefer the ability to be more flexible, where they can turn their attention from one task to the next. So 1 minute they're up in a building and they're fighting long range sniping. Next minute they have to drop downstairs and suddenly they're in close quarters action defending an MCOM. Then there's a tank coming down the road. They've got to quickly change out. Or maybe they died, they respawn, different class, dealing with a tank now. Maybe there's a little bird coming in, so they've got to be aware of that. There's all this stuff going on. So there's a whole kind of presence of the way you work as a team, and I think that's why sometimes the vanilla maps even work a lot better than some of the newer ones. Close quarters is very specific, armored kill is very specific, and they work very well depending on what you want to get out of them. And like I've said, close quarters is great if you want some really, really hard gunplay, and I've also said that it can be great as a kind of warm-up map. So maybe you play like a couple of rounds of it, and it just kind of gets you ready for the gameplay. Armored kill, I think you have to go into armored kill with a very specific mindset of what you want to do. I also think that's why a lot of people struggle with it, because a lot of the time I think people go into it expecting to play it in the traditional way the maps play out. It really doesn't. You have to go in with a different way of thinking in order to be successful with it. You have to be, I've like I said to Matimio earlier, I really think of it as kind of like Rush on hard mode. It's kind of more difficult for so many reasons, regardless of if they, now patch the AC-130. It's still more difficult because often the attackers still have a very imbalanced amount of armor versus the defenders, and for that reason, as defenders, you've got to be at the top of your game, otherwise you're gonna fail. Matimio, what do you think about sort of Aftermath and the transition between those?
Well, I mean, I'm going to be excited for any Battlefield DLC because, I'm just a Battlefielder. But I'm actually kind of surprised about how few servers are running Armored Kill. I don't know about this on consoles, but for PC, I'm having a hard time finding any servers. And so I don't know if it's just that Armored Kill isn't as popular as I expected it to be. But I think people are either just not playing Battlefield anymore, or they're just not enjoying the DLC and just sticking with the old stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's probably a very real possibility because people probably have dropped off. I mean, to a lot of people, these DLCs, unless you bought the premium, it's a what, $15 a pop.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's an important thing that people forget, is that if you don't have premium, people are having to purchase these things again, and so that is a kind of interesting one. Snoov, have you got any more on this? Just while I think about something that I know I've got in my head I mentioned the other day. So have you got anything more about this, Snoov?
I'm on the same lines with Matimio. I mean, again, we're strictly console, and I've noticed the same thing. There is an extreme lack of servers that are dedicated to Armored Kill or even have Armored Kill in the rotation. And I think it's a combination of the three things. One, that not many people bought premium, and coupled with the fact that the game is almost a year old at this point, so I'm sure it's starting to kind of lose its its playability for a lot of people. It's starting to get stale for a good portion of the players. Coupled with the fact that they'd have to spend $15 a pop if they didn't get the premium. I just think it's kind of a perfect storm at this point. And moving forward, you're going to see less and less players on these new DLCs. And I mean, I kind of like the idea of how big these maps are because it does play different. You really focus on the tank gameplay. But I think the DLC overall was more of a miss than a hit. I do like the fact that they added a new game with tank superiority. But I'm not going to lie, it just seems almost like kind of a waste. It seems lackluster. There's nothing overly special about it. It's TDM, but with one flag point and just tanks.
Yeah.
I really would have liked to have seen them add at least one more infantry-based game type, because as fun as the vehicles are, and I know that that's kind of what's unique to Battlefield, I think a lot of people still like to focus on that infantry-style gameplay, and that, to me, is what Battlefield 3 has truly lacked from the beginning, is a good variety of infantry-based game types, or just game types in general.
They did say that they were going to be adding a new game mode for, I think it's Aftermath, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think they will change that as well.
So I'm interested to see what they have in mind for it, because there's a lot of possibilities, but they just don't really seem to want to take the risk with it.
Yeah,
right,
I think. Yeah, go on.
Okay, so that's the thing that I don't get about it. The game, just overall, the whole game is phenomenal. Like, yeah, it has its fair share of issues. It's not perfect, but it is still, the whole package is pretty damn good, and I really do enjoy it. But, at the end of the day, you look at it, with the addition of tank superiority, you really only have 5 completely unique game types. You got a conquest, a team deathmatch, rush, gunmaster, and tank superiority. I mean, that's it. And that's where the one thing that I miss about Call of Duty is the plethora of different game modes. I mean, there's like 10, 12 different game modes for every Call of Duty. So like, and I think they even added more to Modern Warfare 3, but I don't really know. It's just what I hear through the grapevine. And I think that really would help to add to the lifespan of this game. Just being able to shake things up and do something completely different.
It might add to the lifespan, but there's a few things I might say about comments is that, you know, do you think that perhaps by having so many game types, it actually can negatively impact the way people play? Because, you know, if you think about it, with so many game types, people are jumping in and out. And like I would say, you know, it's great that people have such, you know, a range of choices that they can make. So if they want to play close quarters, if they want to play some armored kill, and you know, I don't think armored kill is a bad DLC. I think it's really good for lots and lots of reasons. I just think that it offers a quite specific type of gameplay, and so people who want that kind of gameplay are going to gravitate towards it. But I think it's kind of interesting to think about the fact that, you know, if you look at like Bad Company 1, Bad Company 2, and I actually played some the other day. I have to say it was real fun, and there was a lot of differences between that and now, which I have to say were quite enjoyable to go back to. But when you think about those gameplays, a lot of people will often say that the gameplay people had in Bad Company 2 and Bad Company 1 was significantly higher. They had a higher, you know, ability, you know, a higher skill in terms of how they played the game compared to right now. And I wonder whether that's because, you know, back when you had those game modes, you had a much, you know, smaller choice of game modes to play out. And so people were focused much more on rush, conquest. And yeah, okay, they did have the squad rush and all the rest of it, but it was much more focused on those things. And, you know, I wonder whether adding too much choice can kind of dilute the overall game pool skill level of everyone involved. Matimio, what do you think about that?
I mean, yeah, but really, I think it boils down to, if you have all these game modes, but when I play Call of Duty, I would only play like 2 of the 10. And I think that's true for a lot of people. So yeah, while having a lot of game modes might dilute it, I guess I don't think it's going to detract from the game. I don't think I completely agree with you on that.
That's fine. I don't hate you now.
Yeah. You hate me for life. You hate me for life.
No. You know, I think it's good. It's good to, you know, have different viewpoints and stuff. So that's why we're here. But yeah, for me, I just feel like sometimes you go into these games and people don't even, like I always say, they don't seem to know what day it is. They don't, you know, they're just doing something random. That could just be, unfortunately, public random gameplay, which I get very frustrated with. But you know, John and Brent, do you guys think it would dilute it down, or do you just think it offers more options for players?
I don't know, man. You know, it's a tough call for me because, you know, I feel what makes it fun is, you know, it's just basically has to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, fun is different things to different people. I don't know, Brent, what do you think about all that?
I feel like you could have too many. I mean, you do want there to be a large community, and if you start, you know, diluting the pool of people to a bunch of different games, I don't know. I feel like I stick to 2 or 3 as well, you know.
Yeah. Well, let me throw this one out. Let me throw this one out here. Something that me and Level spoke about before was, you know, the different ways in which games can structure themselves in terms of business. Now, an issue always with DLCs is the fact that when a DLC comes out, you know, you have to purchase it, and so you immediately lose part of that market there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a large swath of people that don't purchase those DLCs, and probably because, yeah, I mean, the game is a year old. People are playing Borderlands 2, or, you know, they want to play the next big thing. You know, I don't think people stick with a game for too long, and, you know, unless they really, really like it. You know, and, you know, in Battlefield, I think we all obviously really, really like the game, so we want to keep playing. But, you know, I think a large swath of people just move from one thing to the next quicker than a year.
Another option, like we were saying, is that when a DLC gets released, because people can't always, you know, you lose a section of the player base, and this has happened with other games as well, like Killzone 3 was the same, and so on and so on. And, you know, another option is that they release the maps for free, but then other stuff like camos, weapons, other upgrades, etc., you know, people purchase it. It's not free to play, but it's kind of like a slightly different business model. And the reason it's good is because it allows everyone to get onto those new maps, but they still make revenue. Now, it's questionable whether they would ever do that, because who knows the kind of margins in terms of money there. But Matimio or Snoov, do you guys think it would work better for the community? I mean, well, I'm sure it would work better for the community overall. Do you think it's realistic? Or, I mean, other games do it, and they seem to do very well out of it. So what do you guys think?
So going for just a larger pool, like you said, Killzone?
Yeah.
What's
I
the
mean,
game?
yeah, Killzone 3. When they release some of the DLCs, you would noticeably see a significantly smaller amount of people playing on those maps.
I don't know. I can see both sides of the issue where you bring up, where offer us all the maps for free, but then pay for things like weapons and camos and stuff. And unless the weapons are really good and fairly expensive, I don't see that working out, because it's to the benefit of the players. Because, yeah, the weapons be nice and stuff, and that's where the developers are probably going to try and recuperate the money. But I have a feeling that the maps in the end would suffer from that, because most people would just be happy with the maps. That's what they really want. So
I wonder whether it even has to be weapons. I mean, literally stuff like skins and different camos and things like that. Because Level was telling me that with like PlanetSide 2, most of the stuff that you can buy is actually kind of, it's non-game changing stuff to a significant extent anyway. It's kind of like camos and stuff like this. And I think, you forget, people love this shit. People love shiny things. And, you can sell it to them through their teeth. They do. They love it. They can't get enough of it. I mean, you see people going, oh, yeah, it's great DLC, but where's all the camos? And look at COD, like how much customization it has in terms of things. We may not like to admit it or like to sort of be part of it, but people love this crap. They love anything that they can just, make themselves more individual. And the other thing is, when you think of it, when you see stuff, I mean, think about like mobile games as well. All the crappy little, microtransactions that people make in these games. They make so much, millions and millions of dollars from these microtransactions in iPhone games, tablet games, etc. All this kind of stuff. There's a lot of money in it. And I think the way to think of it is this as well, is, when would people see a block figure, so they look at it and they go, wow, that DLC is $15. I don't know whether I want to spend that. But if they see a camo and they go, wow, it's 99 cents or however much they want it to be,
Exactly.
They go, wow, that's pretty cool. And then the next week they buy it, and the next week they buy it. Before they know it, they spent $20. And so you've made that money back, maybe in the same period to when you release the next DLC. So I kind of question which is the better way to go. And I think just by releasing a load of camos and crap like that really doesn't matter, I would be interested how much they kind of recoup compared to a entire DLC package. And let's not forget as well that by making it free in terms of the maps, they might retain a larger player base, and that player base is going to be then available to purchase, all these individual bits and pieces. So
yeah, I mean, it really comes down to the company taking the risk to do that, because obviously the model they have, they know works, and it's a big adjustment, because there's the fear of, oh shit, I'm going to be giving all this stuff away for free. What if I don't recoup my losses?
Yeah. Matimio, are you back with some thoughts?
Yeah. Sorry about that. I had a brain fart. So yeah, I do think that if they had this whole kind of free, DLC type thing, that it, of course it's going to be better for the players. They're going to get the maps for free. There's going to be more people. There's going to be a larger pool, and you're going to have more people to play against. And we're not going to have the problem where there's just isn't enough servers, or there's not like Armored Kill servers to play on. So that we wouldn't have that problem. But really, what it sounds like is that this is free to play. That's where everything is moving. We have PlanetSide, League of Legends. If you guys have ever played that, like that is huge. People will pay $20 for a skin, not 99 cents. They'll pay $20 for a skin. So yeah, don't think it just needs to be like microtransactions. These are actually quite large transactions that are taking place. And I can see that taking place for first-person shooters as well. And that's what we're seeing with PlanetSide 2. So
now,
I think it can be done.
Is PlanetSide 2 free to play? You just download it?
Yep, it will be free to play.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
it's awesome, but it's crazy.
You see, they do have these completely different business models, and that's why I say it's kind of interesting to sort of think about what Battlefield could be like if they made some slightly different changes. And like I say, by making everything available in terms of maps to everyone, you would retain a larger player pool, I would imagine, and and then those people would continue on with the game, continue to make all these other purchases. And I would have, by looking at other games that do the same thing, it seems to stack up that they do make their money back. And it doesn't have to be games that, guns to buy that imbalance things. It can literally just be cosmetic stuff. They seem to make money with it. And, I think everyone kind of does it to an extent. I mean, some people care about it more than others, but, you always want a nice, shiny gun. Everybody does, so.
Right.
Okay.
And then there's also the business model of something like Minecraft, which, just kind of, you buy it and then they constantly update it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know whether they're going to get to a point with Minecraft where they start charging people for these other updates, because I don't think they have. Not. No, but I do remember that originally he said anyone that bought the beta version, and I think I actually came in on it with the alpha because I got it really early, but I don't play it hardcore or anything. I just use it to relax. But yeah, I think he's not said that with the beta, if you bought it in the beta, then you would never have to pay for any updates ever again. Right. Like he made that sort of promise to everyone. But they haven't seemed to charge anyone. But I can imagine in the future they may do for specific components or whatever. I don't know. But I think they have a hard time with that, considering the kind of modding market for it is rife. So I think there's so many other skins and other stuff going around. I don't know what they could do. However, I guess if they were updating like the core engine for it or something, then a major update, then I suppose they could charge people for that. Whether or not they would, I don't know.
I guess you also got. I guess we also have to consider that Mojang is a much smaller studio compared to DICE.
Yeah.
With a whole lot less people to pay to keep it running. With something like DICE, making something like Battlefield. I mean, how many people does that take?
I'm kind of surprised that Mojang hasn't expanded larger and updated more, to be honest. I've spoken to quite a few people about this. This is kind of a massive topic in itself, so I may skip this to another video. But
turn it to a Minecraft discussion.
Exactly. Yes. Well, it's gaming in general, isn't it?
What have we done?
But I'll just say one thing really quickly, which is that I am kind of surprised that they haven't expanded it further, and I'm surprised that they didn't update some things as fast. I mean, modders seem to be updating a hell of a lot faster than their own studio, which seems kind of bizarre to me. But anyway.
I'm sorry to stay on Minecraft, but I want to say I've heard that they've reached out to the community, and it's like, if you've made an awesome mod, send it to us, and if we like it, we'll put it in the game if we can make it work.
Oh yeah, put it in the game for free. How nice of them.
No, I mean, that's the thing. Like, something comes like that, because you think about the future of gaming, and if something like Minecraft exists and that modding community does exist, if a developer did reach out and offer to pay people,
yeah, for sure,
to hey, you make an awesome mod, we'll put it in the game and we'll gladly pay you for it.
I think if they're going to do that, they should say, if you make a great mod, we'll give you $1,000 or something like that. I mean, that's going to be nothing to them. That's pocket money,
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I would even say more, but $1,000. Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's happening for multiple games now, because it isn't Team Fortress. You could make like your own hats or something like that, and you could sell them on the store and stuff like that.
I think gaming is moving in a very interesting direction for many, many reasons, but I think this would be a great one to do as a whole other video where we can just sort of discuss what our thoughts about the future of gaming are. So that might be a whole individual discussion that I can run for another one. Okay, let's go on to the next topic now, because we've kind of lingered and gone around. This is a bit more of a bitty discussion today than anything else. All right, we'll go on with my topic, and then we'll come to Matimio's last. So my topic was kind of, it's very related to Battlefield, but in general, was how and why you got into FPS gaming. And I guess I'll start off talking about it because it's my topic. And the reason, I was talking to Level about this again the other day. We were having a bit of a discussion about a lot of things, and we started talking about other games we played and comparisons between. I was talking to Level about PlanetSide, and I was discussing with him about that game and the issues with it and so on, what's good, what's bad. And Level was explaining to me that there are some very large groups of players in PlanetSide that tend to have quite a loud voice in terms of the community. And I said, oh, that's very much like EVE with their large corporations and the way everything goes down with that. And then we started talking about the fact that with games like this, you have to really commit time to play, because if you don't really become anything in that game, and it can kind of lose its appeal because of that. You end up being this kind of lost soldier, and you can't really have much impact on the game unless you're involved with these large groups. Now, for myself as well, having played World of Warcraft for a long time, it was a very similar thing. Obviously, WoW has updated hugely recently, and they've really focused it towards, you know, sort of individual or smaller groups of players. And personally, I know a lot of people who used to play WoW, and a lot of people saying it kind of ruined the game. I kind of agree as well. It was one of the main reasons why one of the reasons why I left the game. But on the other hand, it's kind of true that it seems weird that you can have a game and you have to dedicate so much time to get anything back from it. You really have to invest personally in, and it's why I've said I can't play WoW anymore, because, you know, I always said if I'm going to play WoW or some game like that, you should be able to, you know, you want to be the best or it's not even worth playing. And when I played WoW, I played it to be the best, but I don't have that kind of time anymore. I can't spend like 15 hours a day on a game anymore. I can't do it. And that's why FPS is so great, because FPS also, another thing with those games is often, you know, how much time you put in relates to the equipment you get back, and that equipment often dictates how successful you're going to be in the game versus other players. The great thing about FPS games is you can start at level 1 and you can still kick everyone else's ass on the entire, you know, team and game that you're playing in. I used to remember nothing better than going onto my alternate account for Call of Duty, being rank 1 and dominating and seeing, like, you know, the end of the scoreboard at the end of the round and loads of 10 prestiges at the bottom, which was quite hilarious. The other great thing about FPS games is that you can jump on for literally an hour or whatever. I think I talked about this on another video with Colin and stuff, and yeah, it was my time video, I think, and we were talking about the fact that, you know, a lot of people are kind of age groups, so sort of, you know, I don't know, 25 to 35, something like this. You know, a lot of these other people, they've got other commitments, they've got work, family, whatever, okay, they've got other things going on, and they can't dedicate this kind of time to these other games. They just can't do it. And so FPS games, for that reason, are really, really fantastic, because you can hop in, you can play regularly, but you don't have to play for long periods of time if you don't want to, and it's on a more level playing field, no matter what your progression through the game, for the most part. So let me go to John and Brent. What do you think about FPS gaming in that kind of sphere, and is it like your sole thing? Is it something that you kind of focus on more? I would imagine so, but what's your thoughts on this kind of general topic?
Well, I guess I'll go first because Brent stepped out a second. Our composer just walked in with a box of donuts, and he was wearing a pirate's outfit. I shit you not.
Fantastic.
So I don't know what's going on, but okay, yeah, Brent. Yeah, whenever you want to. Sorry, I was yelling at Brent.
Okay.
So yeah, Brent's got done talking to the pirate now, I guess. But the question is, you know, how we got into FPSs, first-person shooters.
I got drug into it by Tony. I didn't want to do it.
No, yeah, I guess my perspective is I've always kind of steered clear of them. I'm more of an open world type guy. So the games I really enjoyed are stuff like the Grand Theft Autos, the Red Dead Redemptions. You know, and, you know, I typically don't play a lot of multiplayer for the reasons that you were talking about. I don't have that kind of time. Like, you know, I get so intimidated by, you know, some of the, like, you know, World of Warcraft. I look at something like that and I'm like, man, I'm sure that's a blast to play, but I just don't have the time to do it because I have, you know, my job, I have my kid, and so when I game, I kind of just want to pick up and play for an hour and then put it down. So, so I was, you know, I lean towards, the more open world type games. But yeah, with Battlefield, that's kind of the first. It really is the first first person shooter that I've played online. I tried the Call of Duties and stuff, but I honestly, I've never played them online before. Just because I wasn't that interested, and I was honestly a little intimidated by the whole thing because I was like, I'm gonna get on there and just get my ass handed to me, and I just don't feel like I have time to learn. But what got me into it is, well, I guess Brent will start first because he's the one that got me into it, but I'll let him tell his story about it.
Well, Tony got me into it, and Tony plays the sniper or the recon in our show. And so I decided to buy a PS3, and he said, well, get this one. I'm like, I don't want it, but I'll get it because you want me to have it. And then I jumped online with him, and I think we were in Grand Bazaar, and he took me right down the alley where B is, and I just got killed over and over again, and I'm like, Tony, I really don't know why you had me buy this thing. This isn't fun at all. I spawn and I get shot. And but since then I learned you just don't follow Tony around.
I think as well, I think to be fair to games like WoW, I should say you can play them casually, you can play them on a small scale. Even back in the day, like you could play them on a small scale. It's just that it would only take you so far. I guess that's the point to make, is that it's not that you can't play them in that way. It's more about your expectation. And if you're a gamer like me, you always want to try and push as far as you can in a game. And you know, with WoW and stuff like that, you could literally only go so far as an individual player. You know, you could spend, you could do an hour, you could do a little quest, you go away, you come back the next day. You know, but I think with FPS, the reason I enjoy it more is because you can have more of a significant impact in the game from from day one. Basically, you hop in the game, you can be really in the mix, you can be topping the scoreboard, you can win the game. You can't do that so much with these other games. You have to work your way up to that stage, and then you can only go so far with it. Matimio? Yeah, sorry, no, go on.
No, yeah, point just came to mind, like, you know, World of Warcraft, that's like an ongoing game, right? I mean, there's no, because, I look at Battlefield, I mean, it's kind of like just cops and robbers in a way, you know, it's like you get together with your friends and shoot each other for a little bit, you have fun, and then you leave. Yeah. And I know, World of Warcraft, I know, and I don't know a lot about it, but from my understanding, it's like some of the later levels, like you have to team up with a whole group of people in order to take down one monster.
Basically, right, you know, a lot of people would know, but for people who don't know about what WoW is, yeah, basically, you know, you need to go as a group of people, and the dungeons, the raids that you take on, you end up fighting these very large scale bosses with often quite complicated mechanics, and you need to learn each one individually. And some of the creatures that you fight between each boss of a whole dungeon environment are quite difficult as well. They often are kind of like mini bosses in themselves sometimes. So you can't even do those things for like an hour. You have to meet up at a certain time. You then have to usually play through for the evening, and that is what you have to do, and you have to do it on a regular basis with the same people. I would often be starting at sort of 6 o'clock in the evening, and we'd sit down, we'd set up, then we'd game till maybe midnight, and then I'd go and do some farming. I would get some materials so that we could continue to make all the bits and pieces we needed to do the more raiding. Might do some PvP, and it continues on like that. And that is the time period that you need to invest. If you can't do that, you won't be able to do these large scale dungeons for the most part. So to do that is a large time investment. And yeah, you needed a lot of people. As I say, they've scaled it down, but when I played, you needed 40 people to do these large scale dungeons. And I often was running those I was kind of commanding those amount of people. But to get 40 people online in one place and have them all on TeamSpeak or Ventrilo, and then you all go somewhere, you're all commanding them, everyone needs to know their role, they need to do what they're doing. It's quite complicated, it's quite dedicated, it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of effort from everyone all around. On the plus side, it's a great feeling when you have so many people working together in a really elite way, and that's one thing that frustrates the hell out of me in FPS is that I've come from WoW, where you literally play with a load of really focused, in-tune people who research what they have to do before they come into the game. And you'd all get there and we'd be like, right, okay guys, we've got this boss to do. Everyone should know what they're doing, because I rarely would have to explain it. I might recap very quickly, but for the most part, if you were going to be there, you had to know what you were going to do before you started. And if you didn't, I'd be like, sorry, we've got someone else waiting, you can come back next week when you've learnt what to do, and you kick them out. And then you'd carry on and you'd play, and you'd hardcore it through, and hopefully you wouldn't need too much communication. And for the most part, my leading of those raids was more kind of sort of inventory based and making sure everyone had what they needed to and stuff like that. But then you come to FPS, people like running around spinning in a corner or crashing helicopters, and they're all pushed up to the front, there's 6 guys behind, and I'm just going, for the love of Christ, open your eyes, why can't you do this? And it's just, I don't know, it varies around. Okay, Matimio, let's go to you. Where did you come from and into FPS?
I think the first person shooter I ever played was a long time ago. I can't even remember the name of it, but it was like a modern shooter where the guns and the bullets were like either red or blue. So when you shot, you would shoot red or blue bullets.
What game was this?
I really have no idea, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And what you guys just capped on, there's a lot of amazing things about first-person shooters. You don't have to put a lot of time investment into it. It's very skill-based. You see, the rewards as they happen. It's
yeah.
awesome. So I'm not really going to go into more detail on that. That being said, though, while I do like first-person shooters, I'm like you guys, where I do play other games, a lot of single-player games. I find them to be a lot of fun. Like recently, I've been playing Witcher 2, Darksiders, all So
Yeah.
I feel like if you pigeon yourself down in just the first-person shooters, things get a little stale, at least for me.
I think that's the downside with FPS, is that it can be extremely repetitive, and you definitely need something to, step out from time to time, which is why actually with my channel I try to mix it up. I've been playing through Riven, which was a really, really fantastic game. It's such a really good game to play through, and still FPS, but I've been going through some classic Doom as well, which is great. But Snoov, where are you with FPS, and where you've come from and where you're going with it?
I played video games for like a really long time, with the exception of when I turned 16 and I got my license. I was really big into freestyle BMX, so I did that right up until I graduated college, and then it was that point in my life where like, okay, I'm not hanging out with the same people anymore. No one's really like riding anymore because they're all at that age where they've gone on to other things. So I was like, well, I'm bored. I need something to do. And someone was like, hey, you should check out this game, Call of Duty 4. And then that's kind of where everything went downhill from there.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that game, but
that's pretty much where the channel came from. Like it's me and Fake Thriller that run our channel, Shoosty Bang, and I was the first one to get a PS3 and HD TV and everything. I got Call of Duty 4. I was like, wow, this game's really fun. So I told Chris about it. I was like, dude, you should probably check this out. And then he got it, and the whole channel idea and getting into the FPS genre was, like you said, with an FPS game, you don't need to put in all that kind of time to be really good at it. You can put in an hour here and there, and you can still hold your own no matter what. You can take a month break, come back, and still hold your own. And,
I think, I definitely agree. In MMOs, you really would have the most hardcore players, and I still say that my friend Andra, she's from Romania, and she's definitely like the most hardcore player I've ever known in my life. Her and her boyfriend used to be on WoW literally 24/7 because they played it in shifts. Like he'd go to work in the morning, she'd play in the morning, and then he'd come home, they'd play together for a bit, then she'd go out or take a sleep or whatever, and they would just literally rotate the game so their character was online 24/7. And
Wow.
They played it as like a really good kind of like symbiotic team. So when I used to PvP, sort of what would be anyway, it's player versus player. You're not in an AI environment, you're playing against other people. And I used to play with them, and again, I shouldn't think about WoW because it just depresses me when I see the level of team play in FPS. I really shouldn't. But when I've said before in some of my videos, when we used to play WoW, and my PvP team that I used to play with, not to big up ourselves, but we were the best Horde PvP team that there was on our server, and literally I remember we went 3 days without a loss at one point. And that's playing literally probably, I was on like 12 hours a day or more. So we were literally playing all day for 3 days pretty much, and we didn't lose a game. And so to play with those guys was amazing because, I never had to say go left, go right, do this, do that, why aren't you here, why aren't you there? They were always where they needed to be all the time. But yeah, those guys were crazy. They just never stopped playing the game, and I think that shows the level of difference between the two games in the most extreme way possible. But also, I think it's great with games that you build up such relationships with other people. Andra, I must have met her like 10 years ago, maybe, and I still talk to her regularly. So it's kind of cool that you can meet people and it goes on in this way. Right, okay, let's move on with the final topic then for Matimio. So Matimio, tell us what your topic is.
So my topic is, since Armor Kill just came out, there's only 2 more to go. And Battlefield 4 is, going to be in 2014, right? 2014?
yes, the beta is scheduled for fall, like late 2013.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's gonna So it's gonna come out. It's gonna be a while. And my question is, do you think that with the 2 more DLCs that are coming out, and and the lifespan of Battlefield 3, is that going to hold you over until the next Battlefield, or are you going to be looking towards other games or first-person shooters to hold you over until it's released?
Let's go to Brent and John first.
I mean, I know I definitely have some games I'm looking forward to. Grand Theft Auto 5 is right around the corner. Hopefully, I mean, I don't think they've announced it yet, but when that drops, I'll be playing that in my spare time.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm trying to think of what else.
There is a lot of stuff. Medal of Honor, Call of Duty, Borderlands 2 just got released. There's tons and tons of stuff coming up. There's a lot of very good single-player games for PS3 and things, but there's a whole sphere. Endless amounts of games coming up, to be honest.
I'll definitely play because it's kind of the thing we all do as a group for fun now. And, I do find, like, if I log onto my PlayStation 3, the first thing I do is I check my friends list. And I see, okay, who's playing Battlefield? And if no one's playing Battlefield, I'm like, okay, screw it, I'll play something else. But if I see that Brent or Nate, Tony, or somebody else is on, I'm like, oh, my buddy's on, I'm going to play with him because he's there.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I get attached to maps. So I find that I enjoy them more the more I play them. I don't really get bored of maps. I like finding new places and just I like the familiarity of maps I've been playing for a while. So I think it'll last until.
I think that's a good way to look at it, and I think I think a game gets boring when you have the kind of mentality that allows you to get bored of it. I rarely find that I get bored of games, mainly because I kind of innovate ways to make it more interesting for myself. Like, a lot of people will run with the same class doing the same things every game because they find it works for them. Whereas a lot of people, when they watch my videos, go, wow, Luetin, you're using the kind of unused guns. I'm like, am I? I'm just picking guns that I kind of think are kind of interesting to use. So I'll go with like the KH-2002, stuff like that. And, I just kind of like having a different choice. And, I very much alternate my gameplay from one week to the next, depending on how I'm feeling. Sometimes, I do feel like, okay, I'm going to play selfish because I want to do something specific. Like, I never snipe. And the other day I was playing that team deathmatch. I got that fantastic collateral headshot, which was really, really nice to get. And the kind of headshot you only get once a year or something like that, which was really nice for me. And it's only because I decided, hey, today I'm going to go sniper. And it's not something that I would do often, but I think it's good to change things around and make it more interesting for yourself. Or you set yourself a personal challenge in game, and go, okay, today I'm going to do this. It also helps a lot if you play with like a clan or something other than just a small group of players. So I play with a clan of guys. It means generally when I'm online, there's nearly always someone on. And also within that clan, those guys play other games as well. So if I wanted to go over to play COD, if I wanted to play Minecraft, there's other people to play with all the time. So you can kind of keep things more interesting for yourself by joining a community rather than just staying with, your close PSN guys. Although, it's great to have both as well, of course. Snoov, what do you think?
Man, I don't know. It's funny because this upcoming fall of just games, there's so many good games coming out this year. It couldn't have been any worse timed because I'm a first-time new father. My son was born in July, so like I have almost no time. All I have for time right now is like a couple hours a week to play Battlefield 3. So that's all I've got going for me. I think it's going to be good enough. I mean, we did get Borderlands 2, and we've been posting that a bit. And it's a lot of fun, so it'd be nice to be able to shake things up a little bit, but I can't see myself having enough time to play more than 2 games. Like, Battlefield 3 eats up all our time because that's what our subscribers want to play, see, and I do enjoy playing it. There are other games I would love to get into, and I probably could, but in order to, kind of keep the channel going, there's just not enough spare time that I could get something like The Last of Us, which looks phenomenal. It's a PS3 exclusive.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just not going to...
Yeah, it looks good.
I'm not going to have the time to put into it. I mean, things might change in the coming months, but it looks really, really doubtful. I would have to almost completely drop editing and or playing for Battlefield 3 to be able to put in the time necessary to enjoy a game like that.
I mean, there's stuff like Dishonored as well. If you guys have seen that, that looks really interesting as well. So yeah, loads of things coming up. But I think like you say, with your own commitments, it's difficult, and I'm finding that myself just with work and other things I have scheduled going on. It is hard to find the time, and a lot of people keep saying to me like, when are you on your server, when can we play? I'm like, I don't know, because I literally will just jump on one evening when I don't have anything happening, when I'm not doing commentaries like this, when I'm not editing, when I'm not illustrating, when I'm not preparing graphics for work, when I'm not spending time with my girlfriend or with other people. So yeah, it always is different when people don't have the same kind of commitments as you and they can't see those kind of timescales. And I can see where you're coming from with the channel as well. It's very difficult to try and bring anything new in, but I think you kind of have to just bleed it in and sort of softly. It's a shame that, yeah, when you have a dedicated channel like something with Battlefield, your viewers really go towards that kind of stuff than anything else. When I post a Riven video or a Doom video or a Dead Space video, I get like 400, 500 views. When I post a Battlefield video, it's 3,000 or more. So there's a huge difference in viewership of like what people actually want to see. But as I've said with other things like Pixel Enemy and stuff, if you don't put that content there, you're never going to get people watching it. It's always going to be minimal. So you have to just keep putting it there, and over time your viewers and other people will start to enjoy that stuff as well. So guys, some final thoughts, Brent and John. Do you think Battlefield 3 is going to go the full course? Do you think it's really going to last it out, or do you think it's going to get killed off by all these other games coming in a short statement? Do you think that would happen?
My opinion is it's going to last. I'm not going to quit playing, so I can't speak for everyone, but I love it. So.
John?
No, I definitely will keep playing until Battlefield 4 comes out for sure. But I do see a lot of competition for it down the road. I mean, something like Planet. I mean, just one business models. We're talking about FPSs. Popping up online or for PC, like Planet side where it's free to play.
Yeah, perhaps Battlefield 3 is the Battlefield DLCs are like homeopathy, where it just kind of gets every time they release one, it gets more diluted because less people are buying it. So that's a possibility.
Yeah, maybe so. But it definitely has some competition in the future, just as far as the FPS realm. Like Battlefield 4, I don't know what they're going to do different. I think I've heard them state that they're staying modern. So my fear is that the whole modern setting gets stale, much kind of like how the World War II setting got stale after there were so many Medal of Honors and weren't the first Call of Duties World War II shooters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the difficulty is if you're releasing a continual series of games, and it's not even every year, but if you're releasing something, I mean, I think like I have said before, how many different ways can you make a way for someone to shoot someone else? And at the end of the day, all you really are going to be able to do is update maps, graphics, and dynamics. But hopefully that'll be enough if they can create enough of an interesting environment. But it's all about understanding what makes good gameplay. It's all about understanding maps. And I have to say, I don't always have the strongest confidence in varying developers, to be honest, for maps and stuff. As a very, very quick example, some of the maps, COD 4, some of those maps were the best maps, and they're still some of the best maps because of the way they're laid out and the way that they have understood what makes excellent FPS gameplay. If you can't understand how a map works within the specific context of a game, it's going to be an epic fail. And unfortunately, with some Battlefield maps, they just don't work. I mean, especially things like Grand Bazaar. You just look at it. Unless you have a determined team, you're just going to get spawn camped to death every time you play it. There's been a few games where I really have had to be the only person running up that road because no one else will even leave. It's ridiculous, and it's down to the design of it. Snoov, your final thoughts about whether the game's going to go forward?
I think it will. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I'm sure we'll see a slight decrease in the amount of people that are interested in it overall, but I think it has enough staying power. It's got a really good fan base. People are really interested in it. If depending on what exactly we're going to get in the end game, how substantial that DLC is going to be, maybe what kind of new game mode we're going to get with Aftermath, that could be enough to really breathe a substantial amount of life into the game to give it very, very consistent staying power leading up to Battlefield 4.
Let's not forget as well that when Bad Company 2 got to its end period, they brought Vietnam in. Now, it's an interesting question whether Endgame, which hasn't really been specified, is going to be something of that nature, whether they bring in a large-scale patch, like a big patch, something that's not just going to last a month or two, but will last the 5 months they need to push forward to that kind of period where they start getting to beta announcements, etc., etc. Vietnam was a really excellent thing to bring in, and it really did, bring new life into the game. A lot of us played it. In fact, some of my guys were saying the other day, let's get on that and play some. I'm actually probably going to do that. I'm going to get some Vietnam in because I loved that. It was so much fun. So I'm very intrigued as to whether they've got something like that coming up. They've definitely had time to plan it, develop it, and everything else. So, Matimio, perhaps you'd like to have the final say on your thoughts about that.
Well, I also think that Battlefield 3 is going to last until Battlefield 4, just like the same reasons that you did, you just said, with Bad Company 2 and Vietnam. At the time when I was playing Bad Company 2, I was searching for other games. I tried Medal of Honor out. That was a huge disappointment. A huge disappointment. I tried out the new was it Black Ops 2, or not Black Ops at the time? I tried that. That was fun for a while, but then I just always kept drifting back to Bad Company because it was just an amazing game. And I think that's kind of what's going to happen in the next couple of months for me. I'm going to play Planet Side 2. I might pick up Medal of Honor if I think it's worth it. We'll see. And if those games are good, then fantastic. I'll keep playing them. But I'm sure I will still keep always drifting back to the Battlefield franchise and Battlefield 3.
Awesome. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap this up then for today. So I want to thank everyone. I want to thank John and Brent. I want to thank Matimio, and I want to thank Snoov. This has been Luetin with another roundtable discussion. We'll have some more stuff for you coming very, very soon. Thanks for listening if you've made it to the end of the full hour, and see you guys very soon.